Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new H1Z1 video. In today's video we're back at it again with the H1Z1 Ultimate Guide. This is part 2, a new and improved Ultimate Guide for H1Z1 on PlayStation 4. In today's video I'm going to try to cover most aspects of the game which I think would make you guys better, and generally just help you guys improve and be the best possible H1Z1 players you can be. Since the previous video, a lot of things have changed. You guys are getting really good at the game. A lot of people have worked out different metas, different ways to get better, different strategies and tactics and stuff like that. So I do want to cover that all with you in today's video. Now this is going to be a really long video, so guys sit back, relax, enjoy. And if you do want to help me out, be sure to hit a like on the video, just click that thumbs up button, and subscribe and turn on post notifications for all H1Z1 PlayStation 4 content. I just want to say a huge thank you guys for the amazing support on the channel. Since I uploaded the first video, I've jumped from 11,000 to 27,000 subscribers. So I want to say a huge thank you guys. The community that we've got right here is amazing, and I just want to say thank you very much for all of the continued support on the videos and live streams. So something that you guys really loved about the last video was timestamps. That's going to be in this video as well. On screen you can see timestamps for every part of the video. If there's particular things that you want to see again, if you guys want to come back to this video, it'll be really easy for you to do so. And if you guys pretty much know what you're doing already and you want to just check out particular parts of the video, the timestamps will be in the description and as a pinned comment down below. Okay, so let's first of all talk about settings. Now, I would say for settings, try and find the settings that suit you guys best and that matches your needs best. But I will go through mine and let you guys know what I think's best. So, starting off, I put brightness to 0%. Now, you guys will notice that my game looks brighter, more colorful. The reason that my game looks brighter is because I've got an Elgato game capture, which enables me to put my saturation up, and that's why my game looks beautiful. The only thing that you guys can do at home is maybe go into your TV settings, into color settings. It may have like a hue setting, a color setting, you know, vibrance, all that kind of stuff. If you change your TV settings, you may have an option to make your game more colorful. So I recommend messing around with those and trying to find something that's better for you. I put sprint and toggle on because I think it's a lot easier to get in and out of sprint. You can stop and start pretty easily. You only have to press it once, and it's just, I don't know, it feels a lot more free. I think most people will agree that sprint toggle is better than holding, because it's honestly like you have to really dig in sometimes to make it run if you're on toggle off. So I recommend using toggle. Aim acceleration, there's 3 different options for this. The standard option is linear, which is what we started with. It's the original acceleration model, linearly rams your aim based on how far you push the right analog stick. If you don't want to mess with your muscle memory, that's cool, stick to linear. But the next one here is exponential. That acceleration model rams your aim a little bit faster than the linear model, allows you to macro adjust, and will respond faster whenever you're doing bigger movements. So I do like this model a lot. I've noticed like with the scout rifle, I can make those tiny little adjustments like this. And then finally you've got the high response model, which, you know, it's pretty much like a really high sensitivity. I think I would recommend this if you're sniping a lot, or maybe if you use the shotgun. But this generally just feels super loose. Maybe a lot of you guys would recommend this. Let's pick up this crossbow and we'll have a look at it. Probably like, yeah, 100% sensitivity unscoped. As you can see, I can really, really move that thing. I don't normally use the crossbow, by the way, just gonna say that. Just want to point that out real quick. Moving on to into the rest of the settings here. This really is coming down to personal preference. Definitely scoped sensitivity, put it to 100. I would say pretty much everybody should do that. Vehicle sensitivity, at least 80%. You know, controller sensitivity should be down to your playstyle. You know, if you play for a lot of close range fights with a shotgun, you know, you're going to want to be able to turn really quickly and stuff like that. You know, just depending on what you do. You know, maybe high controller sensitivity is better. As you can see in high response, my sensitivity feels pretty high on 30%. So it just depends what you guys want to do. That's really up to yourself. It's personal preference. But maybe like, for example, if you're taking a lot of close range fights, go for higher sensitivity and high response. If you take a lot of long range fights, maybe go for, you know, exponential and maybe like 30%. Something like that. It really just depends. So I would say go into combat zone and try and work out which camera option's better for you and which sensitivity option's better for you. And that will really, you know, kind of tell the story. I do recommend with sensitivity, don't change it too often. Try to find something and stick to it. But generally, that's the best thing you can do. Moving on down, invert stick means you move it one way and it moves the other. People ask me how I get a colored crosshair. It's in the menu here. So like depending on how you mix these colors, it'll determine what color your crosshair is. Pretty simple stuff. As you can see, it's now yellow. It was red before. I like to have it on red because it stands out pretty well with this color scheme. So I recommend red or white because honestly it's pretty dark and red and white sticks out pretty much, but anything will do. Just decide what you want. It doesn't make a big difference. And then just map names on, compass on. This all just shows you everything on the minimap. Controller vibration, I think it's pretty handy if you're getting shot from behind. Gives you a bit of an alert. I put music volume down a little bit because, you know, if it's at the end of the game it plays music and it's a little bit too loud sometimes. Now docking, basically what this does is whenever you're playing a team game mode, if somebody's talking in like a group chat, docking will determine how much your game volume goes down by whenever somebody's talking. So for example, if you put docking to 50% and somebody talks to you, your game volume will get lower by 50%. So I recommend just putting that on 0%, or obviously if you don't play fives or duos, it doesn't really matter. But that's what docking does. One final setting I want you guys to go into is actually in your PlayStation. Now you guys will notice that I'm in full screen. Some of you guys might have black bars. So if you're trying to get rid of black bars, go into settings, go into, I believe it's audio, and our sound and screen settings, and then display area settings. And as you can see, I've got a little thing I can adjust here. Obviously down is to make it smaller, and up is to make it bigger. It depends what you're really looking for. I feel like you'd probably get better FPS or like more smooth gameplay if you went like this. But if you don't want any black bars, go on ahead and put that up full. And that should pretty much do it for your guys' settings. Like I said, just try and find out what's better for you and try to stick to it. Don't change it too often because you'll mess with your muscle memory. That's pretty much all you guys need to know about settings. Alright, so now that you guys have got the perfect settings for H1Z1, let's talk about parachuting in. So in the menu, I hold down my right joystick so that as soon as I spawn in, my character automatically pulls the parachute down and that I can get to the ground as quickly as possible. Because sometimes if you're spawning in a high pop area, getting to the ground first and getting a gun first is going to be what helps you a lot. Now a cool little tip is if you're going straight down, try to crash into the side of a building, crash into a door, crash into the side of a garage, or basically try and crash into any sort of opening, because while you're parachuting you can kind of teleport through a door or teleport through a wall. So it is possible to spawn inside a building, which if you land at the same building as somebody, that's such a huge advantage. So pretty much like just as you're about to hit the ground, if you're like let's say about 5 meters off the ground, just basically swing in and try and crash into the side of the building, and sometimes it will teleport you inside. Now a few tips for parachuting is if you spawn in the mountain, let's say for example, you know, it's a horrible spawn, there's nothing for you to loot. What you need to do to stretch your parachute is, you know, you'll look down, you'll see there's nothing. You want to pull your parachute back up by pushing the right joystick back up again. I would say try to hold it up at about a 45 degrees angle and kind of try to keep some downwards momentum, but swing the parachute to the left, then swing it to the right, swing it to the left, swing it to the right. Meanwhile, use your left joystick to like turn left and right and like swing with a bit of momentum. Kind of the higher up that you pull yourself up, the further you can travel, but obviously it is a little bit slower. So if you do get a really bad spawn, or if you're trying to make it to somewhere different, that's how you need to stretch a little bit, just by using those joysticks to turn your parachute and obviously make micro and minor adjustments with the actual chute itself. Whenever you're actually parachuting in, you should prioritize a couple of things. If you see a car, which you can actually see as you're spawning in, you can see them on your map if you open up your map, or you can see them on the compass, or if you're like me, you've got them memorized and you know where to look anyway. But basically, spawning for a car is what's going to get you from A to B quickest. It's going to help you either get kills, get loot, get safe, whatever it is you're trying to do. 100%. Prioritize a car over loot. It's honestly a lot more important if you can get away with it. Now, one cool little tip for parachuting in is if I ever spawn in like Pleasant Valley, Ranchito, Paris Bluffs, or any big city area, or anywhere where I know that maybe a lot of people are likely to spawn, but it's a pretty big location, and in those areas it can be pretty hard to find people. What I actually do is pull my parachute up and I wait until people actually spawn in front of me, and I watch where they're spawning, so I'll get a mental note, you know, there's this guy spawning in the park, this guy spawning over here, spawning over there, etc. And I'll basically go get a gun and run straight to that person, pretty much. So it gives you like that information that they don't have. You know where people are, you can plan your attack. And honestly, it's probably like one of my best tips for getting like more kills in the city at the beginning. Generally, Pleasant Valley is a really bad place to spawn because, you know, people spawn really spread out and you don't get a lot of action quickly. So just by kind of pulling your parachute up in the city, that'll give you a good idea of where people are spawning, and you'll have a better idea of how to survive or how to get more kills. And finally, you could try to prioritize military crates whenever you spawn in. Military crates always spawn in the same locations. They're not guaranteed to be spawned there all the time, but they will always spawn in the same areas, kind of like where the chests spawn in Fortnite. They could be there, but they're not guaranteed to be there. So if you can learn the locations of them and spawn for those, you can potentially get yourself upgraded armor, upgraded assault rifle. If you're really lucky, sometimes you can get a light machine gun. So definitely if you're going into an area, if you know there's no cars, or even if you can get a car and drive straight to a military crate, that would definitely be my best tips for spawning in. And overall, I think if you follow those tips, you will be a lot better at getting into the game quicker and giving yourself the best possible start. Okay, so let's move on to the early phases of the game, the looting phase. So once you've spawned into the match, you're going to prioritize getting a few things pretty quickly and pretty early on. Depending on where you spawn, you might have some people with you. So what I basically try to do is get an SMG or a shotgun, maybe both if you can, get a backpack, which allows you to carry an extra weapon, and maybe just pick up whatever's in your first building, just try and pick it up. What I'll then do is pretty much just rush the next person that I see, because 9 out of 10 times they're kind of messing about looting. You want to kind of just run in and like pick stuff up as you're running, like try not to stop and loot. Like don't stand there and look at the loot. It's actually really easy to pick up items. You can pick up items without barely looking at them, so just kind of run by them, and as soon as you see it pop up in your screen, hit triangle and it'll just pretty much automatically go into your inventory. But you know, it's nice to get yourself boots because it makes you run a lot faster. Get your shotgun, SMG. If you can get a helmet, I would try and prioritize that, and a body armor as well, because that will save you against shotgun shots a lot more. And pretty much just rush the first person that you see, because if you give them too much time to get set up, maybe they're going to drive off in a car, maybe they'll get an attack on you, they'll throw grenades at you, you never know what's going to happen. So I always try to be the aggressor, you know, even if it means I have to run into a building, grab an SMG and a helmet and just run straight out and kill the next person before they get a chance to get anything. People don't really expect you to rush them too early on, so, you know, a lot of people play the game to kind of get loot and just chill out and get some loot and, you know, go searching for stuff. If you're just in their face straight away, it's going to be a good way to eliminate them from the game. You know, if you can get a first aid and, you know, a few extra bandages, by all means. I would say bandages are pretty good to prioritize because you cannot loot bandages off people or airdrops. So getting extra bandages is actually a pretty good idea. I mean, first aids come in crates, people loot them, you can get them in airdrops. You know, first aids are pretty easy to come by, so I wouldn't get too worried if you can't find a first aid. You can honestly just get them from an airdrop or from somebody that you kill pretty easily. Whereas bandages, they're not something that's easily come by, so I would say try and prioritize them over anything. Like I said, get your shoes, get your backpack. If you do know where the military crate spawns, I mean, by all means grab it. Sometimes I just miss them because I'm trying to like hunt people down, going from one location to another to try and get as many kills as possible. And I feel like, you know, wasting 10 seconds looting a military crate and getting my gear and swapping my stuff out, you know, could be the difference between me getting 1 kill in the next location and 2 kills, or maybe 0 kills. You know, I feel like I try not to waste any time. Personally, I'm going for the world record of 30 kills. 29 is the current record. I've got 25. I want to get 30, so for me, wasting time looting is a no-no. That's pretty much what you guys should do. I mean, get your car, try and get a few kills, and then after the looting phase, move on to the airdrop phase. So after the looting phase, you've got your armor, helmet, got a couple of kills hopefully. What I'll basically try to do is, depending on what the time is, I'll move to the next airdrop, or the first set of airdrops that are coming in, or I'll move to the next kind of spawning area within that kind of range of me. So for example, if I spawn at the airstrip, which is my favourite place to spawn, I think that's the best place if you're going for high kills. Getting airstrip spawns is amazing. You absolutely love spawning there, because there's generally so many people who spawn in that area. It's such a nice part of the map to get a lot of kills. I know this is very situational, but I'm just trying to give you guys some kind of insight what you should be thinking about, regardless of where you spawn. But let's say we spawn at the airstrip, we're going to move on to the military base after we get our first set of kills. We'll, you know, drive in through there, see who's surviving. Like, I pretty much try to waste no time after finishing up in one of those areas, getting to the next place, because, like, if you spend too much time looting, there could still be, like, 2 or 3 people in the next location which haven't fought each other yet, and by wasting time in your starting area, you're potentially missing out on pinching a couple of people and getting 2 easy kills at once, or potentially 3 people in one area, which you could get all of those kills, and you'd be off to an amazing start to the game. So 100%, you know, just get your stuff together and go. After you get to like a couple of locations and you've killed a few people and stuff like that, you're pretty much going to want to make your way to the airdrops. We're going to talk about the airdrops in general and then each individual type of airdrop and what you guys should kind of prioritize doing around those. The green airdrops tend to be not really that contested, honestly. I mean, some people come for them, but I do feel like they're not really cared about as much as like a blue or gold airdrop, obviously. What I'd like to do is pretty much like the first green airdrop I'll get to, I probably will just go ahead and load it. The reason being is you can get a scout rifle, which if you guys don't know about yet, I'm going to be talking about later in the video, but that is a highly underrated gun in H1Z1 and PlayStation 4. You can get that, combat shotgun, which is kind of nutty. Those are the 2 main guns I would get from the green airdrop. The AK-47 and AR-15, honestly, they're okay, but a Hellfire SMG is going to outgun either of those any day, or even just a shotgun in general would outgun those, so I would just probably try to stick to a scout rifle and a combat shotgun out of those. So in those drops you can get a laminated body armor, You can get an upgraded helmet, which obviously protects you for an extra shot compared to the original armors that you find on the ground. That's pretty much the difference between the armors, if you guys are wondering. Once you get the first one, you know, you might get somebody who challenges you for it, maybe not. You know, try to take them out. A good tip, if you're trying to be safe about it, is throw down a smoke grenade on the airdrop and park your car pretty close by. You don't want to be leaving yourself really exposed. By throwing a smoke grenade down, you actually nullify any Molotovs that are thrown into the smoke. I will talk about throwables later in the video as well, but smoke grenades have a special ability that if you're on fire, you can throw a smoke grenade down and it'll extinguish the fire. So potentially you're protecting yourself visually and for people who throw Molotovs into the smoke. So that's a good idea, and having a car beside you will give you that extra cover and the quick getaway once you get the loot. Whenever you're looting the airdrop, you want to be facing out, so don't be looking at the airdrop, click on it and then turn around the other way and the loot will kind of like splash out in front of you, if that makes sense. That way you can basically just go on ahead, run straight out, grab whatever you need and move on. Hopefully if you're lucky you'll get a kill or two at that airdrop, and you pretty much just want to keep moving from airdrop to airdrop at that point. And you know, as you're driving past little points of interest like houses, residential areas, or just the little locations that are on the map, you know, just keep an eye out and kind of drive through those places and see if anybody's still there. Like I said, the green airdrops are not that contested. If you're trying to get kills and trying to find more people, the blue and gold airdrops is definitely where it's at. So once you get past the green phase, you're going to be moving into the blue airdrop phase. The blue airdrops are probably the most important in the game, honestly, because of the upgraded weapons that come in those. You can get a KH-43, Marauder, an M40 sniper rifle, the CNQ SMG, which I think is kind of trash, which again I'm going to talk about later. You can get the brand new airstrike grenades in those. I'm going to give you guys a little tip about the airstrike grenades. There's a bug where if you pick up an airstrike grenade and you've got a full inventory full of grenades, it'll disappear. So if you want to pick up an airstrike grenade, make sure you've got an open slot. It's just a bug that's in the game right now. It may be fixed later when you guys are watching this, but just keep that in mind. If your airstrike grenades are disappearing, make sure you manually drop your grenades first, and then the airstrike grenade will go into your inventory. Also, another bug, just since we're talking about upgraded armor, is whenever you pick up an upgraded helmet and then you pick up another helmet by mistake, if you try to pick up the upgraded helmet, it'll transform into a regular motorcycle helmet. So if you accidentally pick up a motorcycle helmet, don't pick up the tactical helmet until you've picked up a different helmet, if that makes sense. That's just a bug that's in the game right now. I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. You pretty much lose 20% armor on your helmet by messing that up, so I definitely want to keep you guys aware about that. But like I said, moving on to the blue airdrop, it's going to be a lot more heavily contested. Arguably, you could try to go for the first one if there's nobody going for it. You honestly have to be a little bit ballsy about it. Just go for it, dude. People used to try and run you over. As you guys are well aware, you cannot run people over anymore, which is awesome. My kind of tips and tricks for, you know, baiting people at the airdrops, you can honestly just sit there and pretend you're looting it. And as people come rushing you, just kind of spray them out of the car with your scout rifle, AR, AK, SMG or whatever. It's pretty easy to scare people off. Once again, I'll try to go for one of those, you know, get the upgraded armor if I need it, and then try and bait the next one and fight over the next one. If you do have decent gear already, I mean, just resist the temptation. You don't really need anything out of the airdrop. If people start going for it, throw an EMP grenade down on the drop, just spray them off it. Even like chuck a grenade and blow their car up. You can use the crossbow if you're that type of player and blow their car up or whatever it is you want to do. Just be careful because you will get snipers around the airdrop. People do tend to, you know, shoot crossbows from afar. People tend to kind of watch over them. This is no secret strategy. People are pretty onto this right now, so just be very, very careful around the airdrops. You know, try not to loot all of them. Don't be too blind about it. Honestly, that's where you're going to get most of your kills in the match, around the blue airdrops and gold airdrops. So moving on to the gold airdrops, comes with the LMG. Sometime in the future, I'm hoping that there's going to be a brand new golden weapon. Let me know in the comments below what golden weapons would you guys like to see come to the game. But if you can get the LMG, dude, absolutely 110% take that thing. It's probably the best gun in the game. I think it's the best gun in the game personally, which again I'm going to talk about later. But you definitely want to try and get yourself an LMG. That's the type of case where you do want to get the airdrop. You don't want to bait the LMG airdrop and let somebody get away with it, because you know, that thing is absolutely deadly against people and cars. Once again, airstrike grenades spawn in the golden airdrop, so it actually could be a good strategy if you guys do get an airstrike grenade to just put that down on airdrops. Maybe like EMP somebody's car, airstrike grenade on the drop. You could end up getting multi-kills on those at times, so it's definitely worth keeping in mind. But those are pretty much my tips on airdrops. Like I said, don't get too greedy with them. Try to use them as more of a beacon than something that you actually loot. You know, even if you've like got 20% armor, you don't necessarily need it, you know, straight away. Try and save it for a little bit later, and you know, try and get as many kills as possible on those drops. Okay, now it's time to look at CAR1Z1. This is going to be pretty huge. I think if you guys can learn this, it's going to help you a lot. We're going to talk about each car individually, what they're good at, what they're bad at, how you can use your car to your advantage, and how you can also fight people who are in their cars and kind of make their car less effective, how you can destroy cars really quickly and all that kind of stuff. So first of all, let's rank the cars from worst to best and talk about them a little bit. In my opinion, the worst car is the truck. It's the slowest vehicle, it's got really bad handling, it flips really easy, it's got a big window in the back which is easy to get shot out of, it doesn't provide very good cover. Overall, the truck is your least desired mode of transport. You don't want to be driving about in that thing. Honestly, you'd be safer taking an ATV or anything else. The main benefit the truck has got is that it can crash through fences really easily. It doesn't slow down when you crash through fences, but apart from that, the truck is not a good vehicle to go for. So the next one we're going to talk about is the ATV. ATV is actually pretty good. It's the second fastest vehicle in the game. It's got really like loose handling. It's like good honestly for making like really sharp turns and stuff like that. If you can get good with the ATV, you know, it's kind of arguable that it's probably right up there with the cop car. In my personal experience, it's pretty easy to get shot off an ATV. Your entire body's exposed at all times. And if anybody's got a good shot, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. And I think with the handling being so loose, it's pretty easy to flip it. It's pretty easy to crash it and all that kind of stuff. So I would take an ATV over a truck, but I do not recommend driving about in an ATV too much. It's faster than the truck, faster than the Jeep. Not as fast as the cop car, but definitely being exposed is the huge disadvantage with the ATV. But it is for sure a viable traveling option. The next car I would look at is, in my opinion, the second best car is the Jeep. It's, like I said, a little bit slower than the ATV, faster than the truck. It's got great handling, and one of the abilities the Jeep's got is better traction and handling when you're driving up mountains. So sometimes it's better to take a Jeep over a cop car if the final safe zone is going to be in the mountain, because the cop car can flip, it's pretty flimsy, whereas the Jeep has got a lot better gravity and traction, and generally it controls really well. It provides really good cover. You've got the big cab on the back, which you can step around the back to shoot from, or you can obviously shoot over the bonnet. It's got a really powerful head glitch. If you step back from the Jeep and aim over the top of the Jeep, it's got a really, like, it's so hard to hit people whenever they're doing that. So that for me is a huge plus with the Jeep right there. And finally, we've got the police car, which I think personally is the best car in the game. The reasons I think it's the best is because one, it's the fastest. It's got really loose handling, so it's easy to control. It's a really low car, so it's not that easy to get your feet shot under the car compared to the other vehicles in the game. It's got really good cover over the roof and over the siren. So if you actually aim over the siren of the police car, it is extremely difficult for people to hit your head because of how little your head's exposed. And going into first person aiming over the police car is extremely powerful. So if you're going to head glitch the car and use the car for cover, try to use the siren, because it'll be really difficult for people to hit you. Also, the car is quite low to the ground, so it's not that easy to get your feet shot under it. I think just generally, it's the most versatile, the fastest, and it provides the best cover out of any vehicle. So I do recommend prioritizing the cop car. If you guys still don't know yet, if you press right on the D-pad, it puts the sirens on. If you're trying to drift the police car, or any car in general, you press L2 as your handbrake. So L2 also reverses, but it can be used as a handbrake. And whenever you're pressing L1 to boost your car, that's pretty much what you do. You kind of like turn and press L1 and L2 at the same time, and that'll enable you to drift and fly around corners in a really cool way. Sometimes if you're in the cop car, you can, for example, turn to the right and then turn to the left while pressing L1 and L2 and like jump out of your car, and your car will basically like drift in front of you and you can get instant shots off on people. A really good tip, whenever you're jumping out of a car in general in H1Z1, try to face your target before you jump out, because your camera will automatically shift to where you're facing. So I don't do this personally, but you guys can if you want to. But if you literally get a little tiny bit of blue tack and put it on your screen, like aim down sights with a sniper, put a blue tack right in the center of the sniper, and then try to aim the bit of blue tack on wherever you're jumping out, if that makes sense. So if you see a person, put the blue tack in the person and then jump out, you will automatically look at them, your camera will automatically shift. That's something that I actually tried in Call of Duty back in the day. It worked pretty well for like going for no scopes and stuff like that with the sniper in Call of Duty. I think that might actually work out for some of you guys. I personally don't do it, but I think it actually could help you guys a lot. As you guys will probably agree, cars are somewhat of a problem at the end of the game. Being able to destroy cars is something that's going to help you win the match quite a lot. So the easiest way to destroy cars is probably using grenades. If you throw a Molotov on a car, you know, it degrades the car at a pretty fast rate. So, I mean, if you're just trying to destroy people's cars from Molotovs, and frag grenades can blow them up straight away. The crossbow is extremely good at blowing up cars because it only takes 3 shots with the crossbow to blow up a car. You can also damage people while they're driving in the car with a crossbow, which I think is pretty OP, but that is how the game is right now. So 3 shots to blow a car up with a crossbow. If you can pick up a magnum and keep it to the end of the match, each bullet with the magnum that you connect in a car does 8% damage. So if you've got, like, for example, somebody who's got a car at the end, it's on like 40% HP. I mean, 5-6 shots with a magnum, goodbye car. That's pretty much it. It's worth keeping in mind that for some reason, whenever a car gets down to below 20%, it takes more bullets to destroy it. The general amount of damage per bullet is 1.5% per bullet. So using an LMG can be pretty good because you can spray a lot of bullets into it at once, potentially 100 bullets into a car. So using an LMG can be pretty effective. I think overall, the crossbow and also the M40 sniper can be very effective for taking cars out. The M40 sniper per bullet does 11% damage. So if a car is like on fire, you know, 2-3 bullets with the M40 will completely explode it. So that is definitely your best ways of destroying cars. Grenades, Molotovs, the M40 sniper, crossbow and magnum are your car killers. Now for shooting people out of cars, whenever somebody's driving, the shooting system in H1Z1 is projectiles. I'm going to talk about that later, of course, but it's projectiles, it's not hit scan. So whenever somebody's running or moving, in general you shoot in front of them. The same thing goes with people who are driving. So if there's a cop car, let's say you've got an AR-15 or KH-43, you're going to try and lead your shots with R3 or your right joystick and kind of move your crosshair in front of the car as it's driving to hit shots. The bullet speed's pretty high in H1 on PlayStation 4, so you don't have to shoot too far in front of them. Kind of aim in the front windscreen, if that makes sense. You know, with the KH-43 and stuff, it's got a lot of bloom anyway, so it doesn't make that much difference. But just in general, try and put it like half a centimeter in front of the car as it's driving. There's also bullet drop as well. So like if a car is a little bit further away, you do have to aim above it. The most effective gun for shooting people out of cars, in my opinion, is the scout rifle. Because of its accuracy, that gun is, I'm pretty sure it's 100% accurate, and the M40 is 100% accurate. So if you guys are trying to take people out of cars, I would recommend using them 2 guns to actually physically try and shoot them out of cars. A really good tip for shooting people who are like using their cars for cover and stuff like that is if you hit them a few times and they're healing up beside the back tire of the car, if you kind of move over to the right and take a look for their feet, normally at all times their feet are exposed under the car, so use your sniper rifle and shoot their feet. That's honestly never happened to me, but I shoot a lot of people in their feet and it gives me so many easy kills. So definitely look for that. Also, whenever people are healing up behind a car, or if they're kind of like crouching and strafing, if you look through the back window of the car, you can see them. So aim through the back window of the car or whichever window of the car that they're kind of camping behind, and you can get some headshots through the window of the car. Even just try and preemptively shoot the back window and you might hit some shots anyway, because people will be kind of bobbing around while healing, so that's worth keeping in mind. Using an EMP grenade is a pretty big one. You know, oftentimes if somebody pulls up for a fight, I'll throw down an EMP grenade straight away. And you can even just throw an EMP then a Molotov, which will completely degrade their car. You can reposition and obviously just try and take them out. That can be a pretty effective strategy for taking cars out and taking out people in cars. The way EMP grenades of course work is they work on impact. So you do have to throw the EMP grenade a little bit in front of them if they're driving. EMPs are more effective for people who've already stopped. Try to use them sparingly and try to use them in the best way possible. One tip I'm going to talk about later, but I'll give you guys an insight on now. If you're in a tight situation and there's a lot of cars driving about and you've taken damage from one side, you're taking like cover behind your car or something, and somebody's trying to drive away, do not EMP them as they're driving away, because I've made the mistake of taking damage from somebody and the person beside me will try to run away. I'll EMP them, they're forced to get out, and then I'm pinched. So just be careful if you're using EMP grenades on people. Sometimes it's better to let them go than to EMP them and get pinched, so it is definitely worth keeping in mind. So hopefully that'll give you guys a better idea of how to destroy cars and how to use cars to your advantage. And hopefully you guys will start killing people in cars a lot more often. We'll have much less CAR1Z1 at the end of every match. So let's talk about in depth how the shooting system works in H1Z1 and the things that you need to consider to be the absolute best player. Every best player knows this, so it's definitely worth taking into account here. So there's a couple of different systems that you guys need to focus on. The fact that the bullets are projectiles. There's damage drop off at range, so the further away you are from somebody, the less damage your bullets do. There's bullet drop, and there's bullet speed, so you have to lead your shots at times. So first off, let's talk about the projectile system. So whenever somebody's pretty close to you, you pretty much just aim straight on them. I mean, if they're getting a little bit further away, and they're strafing, for example, let's say they're strafing to the left, you're going to aim to the left side of their body just to make sure that your shots keep connecting. And likewise, if they're strafing to the right, you shoot to the right side of their body to make sure that your bullets are connecting. The bullet speed is pretty fast in H1Z1, so at close range you don't really notice it too much, but it is always worth considering shooting in front of people because the server has latency, and on your screen they may be somewhere, but on their screen they may be a little bit further along, so definitely trying to shoot to the side of their body that they're strafing to will help you hit more accurate shots. So taking that into consideration at a little bit of further range, let's say you're shooting a target who's running at 50 meters, you're going to want to aim probably just like a centimeter in front of them as they're running, because, you know, they are running. Like I said, the server doesn't pick them up for a little bit, and also the projectile takes X amount of time to get from A to B. It's not an instant hit. You know, the bullet speed has to be taken into consideration. This is more especially noticeable with people who are driving because they're moving at a faster speed. So if you think, for example, if it takes a bullet 1 second to travel 100 meters, you know, you have to consider that a cop car can move maybe like 5 meters in a second. So pretty much you're trying to compensate for the amount that they've moved in the time that it takes for your bullet to get there. Hopefully that's not too confusing, but long story short, you want to aim in front of people if they're driving, you want to aim in front of people if they're running, and depending on how far away is pretty much how you should determine how much you want to shoot in front of them. Also, there's bullet drop to take into consideration. It's not advisable to take too many long range fights that you have to use bullet drop with because there's also damage drop off, which I will talk about. But bullet drop in general is, if you're using an M40 sniper, most notably, you want to use the little ticks on your scope and aim above their head and stuff like that to connect shots at a further range. Like I said, there is damage fall off. The M40 sniper can be a little bit strange. Sometimes it can take like 4 or 5 shots to kill people depending on the distance. So trying to stay within like, let's say 200 meters with the sniper or any weapon in general is definitely going to serve you a lot better. With assault rifles, try to stay within, let's say 100 meters and try to stay within 200 meters if you're using a sniper. Talking a little bit more about drop off damage, this is where it comes into effect with things like SMGs and pistols. You only want to use them up close. Once you start using the pistol at range, not only is the bullets pretty inaccurate, but you do less damage. So, for example, an M17 pistol will one-shot somebody to the head if they've got no helmet up close, but if they're a little bit further away and you hit them in the head, it will not kill them. Try to use the guns at their more effective ranges, and trying to fight with people at a closer range will honestly make it a lot easier and quicker to kill people. If you do want to try and snipe people out of cars and stuff like that, just keep in mind that you do have to aim a decent distance in front of people to make sure that you're connecting those shots at range. And finally, I want to talk about bloom. So for those of you who are unaware of bloom and what that means, I want you guys to imagine a tiny little circle, right? Whenever you shoot one bullet, your bullet will go within a tiny circle, but the more that you shoot without letting your reticle reset, the bigger the circle becomes. So essentially, the more you spray and the more you hold down your trigger without letting go, the less accurate your bullets will become. So if you're using a KH-43, an LMG, SMG, any fully auto weapon essentially, you want to give your crosshair enough time to reset so that your bullets are as accurate as they possibly can be with the bloom system. That's why sometimes you'll be shooting right on somebody and it's like, where are my shots going? I'm shooting right on this person. It's because the bloom system's coming into effect and your bullets in H1Z1 aren't always 100% accurate. The guns that are pretty accurate is the scout rifle, AR-15's really accurate, the M40's 100% accurate. Apart from that, everything else is slightly random. I feel like the most accurate assault rifle is the AR-15, and the Marauder is actually quite good. It's got a 3-round burst, but you do see a bit of bloom with it. Probably the worst gun that suffers from it is the AK-47, which is why it's infamous in the game and nobody really runs it for too long. It's a gun that you don't use at range. So I did want to just kind of clear that up for you guys to let you know that you have to use bullet drop if people are too far. There's damage drop off, so try not to shoot people from too far away. Try to tap fire because you will get inaccurate the more you spray, and try to shoot in front of people if they're running to make sure that you can always connect on your target. So one great tip for shooting is if you're like, let's say within 10, 15 to 20 meters away from somebody and you're spraying like a KH-43, crouching in the middle of the gunfight will automatically pull your crosshair down and automatically compensate for the recoil of the gun, meaning that your shot's not going to move away from the target as much and it's going to be a lot easier for you to connect the shot. Another great tip for shooting is, like I said, there's a projectile. So whenever somebody's behind cover, if you pre-fire where they're going to be coming out at, while they're head glitching a cop car, behind a tree, whatever it may be, shoot a few shots at the side of the tree or where you think they're going to peek, and your shots will hit them as soon as they peek, and that'll give you a chance to basically insta-kill them. This is something I do with the scout rifle quite a lot because it is a projectile and it's very accurate. If I know somebody's behind a tree, I'll pre-fire a tree, and as their head pops out, I've already hit their helmet off, and the second shot connects very soon after. You can pretty much insta-kill people very quickly, pre-firing and stuff like that. Like I said, burst fire your weapons, don't be fully spraying weapons, and try to control the recoil a lot. With a gun like the Marauder, for example, you can kind of pull down on your right joystick, which will pretty much like nullify the free round burst. If you can kind of pull down and crouch with the Marauder, that gun is absolutely insane. I think, I'm going to talk about it in the gun guide, but I think that's the best assault rifle for that reason, because the bullets go straight up. So if you can kind of like crouch with the Marauder and spray it off, you can pretty much two burst people. So that is definitely worth keeping in mind. And finally, a few tips with the shotgun, whether it be combat or riot. Obviously, you want to be getting up on people's faces with that thing. The riot shotgun's got more range than the combat shotgun. The combat shotgun sprays really... The combat shotgun has got really high fire rate. So in any case, you do want to get a bit closer. You can like kill people from a little bit further away with the riot, but generally, shotgun's a shotgun, you want to get in their face. A few tips for that is, I crouch a lot while I'm shotgunning, so instead of jumping about and making yourself an easy target, I jump very sparingly with the shotgun unless I feel like it's a pretty last-ditch effort. So I would advise against that at any cost. Sometimes you can like jump towards somebody and, you know, hit a crazy looking shot, so it's up to yourself with that one. I would advise against jumping about too much unless you're very accurate at doing so. If you're in a shoddy battle, it's kind of dragging on a little bit. You want to basically, you know, crouch and then like line them up, crouch, line them up. One little cool tip, which I'm going to talk about in the movement section of the video, is you can run. And basically as soon as you toggle run, like press right and left on your left joystick, and it'll basically make you sprint really fast to the right and the left, which works super well with the shotgun. So sprinting left and right, it makes it super hard for you to be hit. Always strafe as well when you're shooting, whether it be with a shotgun or whether it be with an assault rifle. A standing target is so easy to hit, and you're going to get demolished if you don't kind of move around. Try adjusting your aim by strafing as well. So if you find it difficult to use your right joystick to adjust your aim, use strafing as an option there. And honestly, just line your targets up by strafing. It's kind of two birds with one stone. You're making yourself harder to hit, and you're making it easier for yourself to hit people as well. Okay, so let's talk about each gun individually here. These are in no particular order of which I think is best. I think you guys can probably decide that for yourselves. Everybody plays differently, but I'm going to give you my tips on, you know, generally which guns are better in the game and stuff like that. And just a few things that I would do to generally be better with each gun. The worst gun in the game is probably the M9. Sometimes it takes like 4 or 5 shots to the head to kill somebody. It takes a lot of bullets. The only good thing about the M9 is it's got a higher round clip than the M17. It's got 17 bullets in the clip. And you can spread pretty fast. And as well as that, it's actually got decent accuracy. So it's not too bad that way. Don't try to be accurate with it, just spray off. You honestly don't want to mess about with that thing too much. The M17 can be a 4-shot body kill. A 1-shot kill to the head if they've got no helmet up close. And a 2-shot kill to the head if they've got a level 1 helmet, and a level 2 helmet would be a 3-shot kill to the head. I would recommend probably just going for body shots with it though. Again, it's not something you want to mess about with, and it is pretty inaccurate. The Magnum has got absolutely horrible accuracy. It can be a 1-shot kill to the head, 2-shot if they've got a helmet, 3-shot if they've got a level 2 helmet. I believe it's a 3-shot kill to the body, so it is pretty strong. But it is super inaccurate. It's one of the most inaccurate guns in the game. As well, like I said earlier, it's really good for taking out cars, which should be your main use for the Magnum. It does 8% damage to cars. The Hellfire SMG is arguably one of the best guns in the game. It sprays really fast. It seems like the recoil's pretty low. Once again, if you crouch while shooting the MP7, it's absolutely insane. So I can honestly see that as a gun that you could take to the end. Take either an MP7 or a shotgun to the end of the match, because it's definitely one of the top 2 close range guns in the game. The CNQ kind of fails, unfortunately. It's got a lot of bloom, doesn't have the same fire rate as the MP7. 99 out of 100 times I'll get outgunned by an MP7 with a CNQ, so I don't recommend picking up that gun at all, unfortunately. The only advantage it really has over an MP7 is the fact that it's got a red dot sight of some sort, but apart from that, it isn't very effective at any kind of range. And it doesn't really compete up close either. Likewise, the AK-47 doesn't have a lot of accuracy, so it pretty much fails at medium range, and up close it gets outgunned by the MP7 most of the time. So that's a gun I would probably leave on the ground. The AR-15 can be quite a nice gun to use at times because of the accuracy. I don't recommend getting into close range engagements with it because of its fire rate being very low. You can spray targets down, you know, if you've got a good trigger finger. And it is, like I said, pretty accurate. It doesn't suffer from much bloom or anything like that. So if you aim for headshots, you can get a 3 or 4 shot kill with it. So it does feel pretty nice at times, but generally it's not as good as all our weapons in the game. The scout rifle, one of my personal favorites in the game. If they've got a level 1 helmet, it's a 2 shot kill to the head. If they've got a level 2 helmet, it's a 3 shot kill to the head. It's 100% accurate as far as I'm aware. It's got a really good fire rate. And honestly, it's one of the best guns in the game. It's very, very underused and slept on. I guarantee you guys, if you try the scout rifle, get good at aiming for headshots. It is an absolute annihilation machine. So let's talk about the combat shotgun versus the riot shotgun. The combat shotgun's advantages are it's got a really high fire rate. It's got really fast reload, it has more bullets in the clip, it has a red dot sight. Honestly, I think overall the combat shotgun's probably better than the riot. The only thing that's better about the riot shotgun is the range. You can get 1 pumps from further range, but I think generally a fully armored person with a riot shotgun versus a fully armored person with a combat shotgun, I think the combat shotgun's going to win most of the time, even if both people are accurate. And just because of the fire rate and how much bullets you can get off in time. Just a few tips for aiming with the shotgun. Should you aim or should you hip fire? As a rule of thumb, most of the time, hip fire with the shotgun, because honestly, if you're keeping yourself moving and mobile, it's going to stop people from getting an easier shot on you. Also with that, you know, if somebody is around a corner and you're waiting for them to peek a tree, you get some aim assist with the shotgun. So I would say if somebody's hiding behind cover, aim at the cover and your aim assist will help you get on target as soon as they peek. Otherwise, if you're in an open shotgun fight, I would recommend using hip fire only and just trying to crouch, trying to strafe and stuff like that while shotgunning, and that's your best chance for success in close range fights. The KH-43 is an absolute wonderful weapon, beautiful gun, got a great sight, some kind of ACOG sight it's got, one of the best guns in the game for sure, and also the same can be said with the Marauder. I think that's kind of down to personal preference. The benefit that the KH-43 has got, it's more accurate for single shot shooting. So if you're trying to like hit a smaller target, like if you're hitting a head over a cop car, that gun works a little bit better than the Marauder. If you can catch people out in the open, like beside a tree or something, the Marauder just absolutely rips. Like I said, if you crouch with it in mid-shot, you're pulling your bullets down pretty much, and it's just absolutely insane. If you can get an open target with the Marauder, you'll absolutely decimate people. KH-43, the same can be said. It's not quite as destructive to an open target, but if you're trying to hit more pinpoint shots with an assault rifle, the KH-43 does serve both purposes pretty well. The M40 sniper, it's kind of infamous for its damage. It can be very, very effective though. It's got a really good range, pretty low bullet drop and high bullet speed, so you don't have to aim too far in front of people, and you can take people out from all sorts of ranges and pinch people from afar. Definitely right up there. It's got the most damage out of any gun. If they've got no helmet, you can one-shot them. It's a 2-shot kill to the body, 2-shot kill to the head, and depending on the armor situation and the range, sometimes it can be a 3 or 4-shot kill. Definitely one of the best guns in the game in the right hands, and I recommend taking it, like I said, for destroying cars with the 11% damage to cars, and generally just for pinching people off in the distance who are already weak. It can be a really, really good finishing gun, and it can be good for taking people out on military crates and stuff like that. The crossbow, the infamous crossbow, can be found on the ground, the most rare item that can be found on the ground. If you direct impact somebody with it, it's 90% damage. It completely disregards armor. It's honestly probably one of the most OP guns in the game. Like I said, 3 shots a car, 90% damage to the body. It has splash damage as well, so if you hit the ground beside somebody, it does some damage. So within like 2 or 3 shots from hitting the ground beside people, you can take somebody out with the crossbow. Or like I said, it's really good for finishing people off. The best use is definitely shooting people in cars, because you can actually damage them in the car while taking HP off the car. So the crossbow is definitely one of the strongest guns in the game. And finally, last but not least, the light machine gun. Thing's an absolute machine. Comes with 400 bullets in the crate. Absolutely shreds cars, shreds people, shreds everything in its path. It's about a 4-shot kill to the body, 5 shots if they've got a makeshift, 6 shots if they've got a laminated, 2-shot kill to the head. It's absolutely nuts, boys. I think we all know how good it is at this point. Definitely something you want to prioritize at all costs. LMGs equal wins. So in my previous video, the LMG actually got buffed after I said it wasn't that good. It's for sure, in my opinion, the best gun in H1Z1 and PlayStation 4. Okay, so let's talk about throwables and grenades in H1Z1. This is something that I also see as a very underused tool in H1Z1, which will help a lot of you guys win a lot more games and generally survive and get out of tough, sticky spots in the game. So I'm going to talk about each one individually and what it's best for, and I'll kind of give you guys an idea of which ones you should prioritize and what you should try to bring to the end of the match. So first off, I think flash grenades are probably the worst throwable. It doesn't have a lot of range. But what it does is if you connect it, it'll blind your opponent for about 5 seconds, depending on how well you connect it. It can be really useful if you know somebody's camping in a building. You can throw a flash grenade in and just run in and shotgun them because they'll be blind. There's not really any defense for flash grenades yet. They're supposed to be bringing in a system where if you turn away from the flash grenade, it'll not flash you as badly, or you'll not get flashed if you're not looking at it. Unfortunately, that's not a thing that's in the game, but keep in mind that using a flash grenade up close can be really deadly and effective. Gas grenades are actually really good. I mean, if somebody's camping inside of a building, a gas grenade basically penetrates through walls and damages people through walls and buildings. So if you have somebody weak and they're camping inside a house, a trailer, whatever it may be, a gas grenade can flush people out really quickly. So it is a very good throwable as well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a gas grenade. It can also be used for cover. Not quite as good as a smoke grenade, but it is something you can use if you want to try and to visually block off an area. Definitely consider throwing down a gas grenade if that's all you've got. Molotovs are definitely one of the better throwables in the game. You throw it on the ground beside somebody, sets them on fire, does maybe like 30 damage. It depends on, you know, how long they stay in the Molotov. But it sets somebody on fire, it makes their aim go all wonky. It's a really strong throwable. And if you pile a few Molotovs onto somebody, the chances are you're going to get them out of cover, you're going to take a lot of health off them, and it's going to be an easy kill whenever you get a chance to shoot them. A really cool tip with Molotovs is if somebody's driving, throw the Molotov down on the ground, and as they drive through the Molotov, that'll set them on fire and do some damage to them. If somebody's parked behind their car, throw down the Molotov on the car, and it'll start taking damage off of it. So it can be used for a lot of really different scenarios, and I definitely recommend those a lot. One thing worth keeping in mind is if you get Molotoved and you're on fire, throw down a smoke grenade and that will extinguish the fire. People cannot throw a Molotov into a smoke grenade and set you on fire. So that is definitely the huge benefit of smoke grenades, which is what we're going to talk about next. I think you guys are sleeping on smoke grenades. I never see them, and I honestly want to be seeing smoke grenades a lot more after this video. Whenever you're looting an airdrop, throw down a smoke grenade so you don't get sniped. Whenever you're trying to make a push at the end of the safe zone, let's say you get your car destroyed, you're trying to push to the safe zone and you've got a big open field. You want to have smoke grenades to throw down so that people can't get an easy shot on you, they can't snipe you from afar. Even if people are driving up on you and stuff like that, or if they're damaging you from pretty far away, throwing down a smoke grenade and just kind of lying back a little bit from the smoke is going to save your life so much. It's the throwable that pro players prioritize probably the most because of its safety and the cover that it provides you in tough situations. So honestly, that's going to be one of your top throwables. I would say keep that in your top 4 throwables pretty much at all times. Because it can save your life. It can help you make pushes whenever the game's not working in your favour. Even if you want to get up close to somebody, if you've got no assault rifle ammo, throw down a smoke, run through the smoke grenade and try and shotgun them. It can work really well. So moving on to frag grenades, these probably are the more powerful throwable in the game. You can pretty much one-shot kill somebody with them or two-shot kill somebody with them. You can one or two-shot cars with them. So honestly, if somebody's like camping behind a car, if they've got an LMG or something, just, you know, camp behind your car and chuck a couple of grenades and shoot them whenever they're driving away. That's going to give you free shots on people. If people are camping behind buildings and all that kind of stuff, it's honestly just a really good way to flush people out and get an insta-kill. So definitely carry frag grenades if you do have the opportunity to do so. So let's talk about the new ones. The EMP grenade, very good for taking out cars. So if you've got somebody who just keeps running and running, throw the EMP grenade in front of the car, it explodes on impact and disables the car for, I believe, 10 seconds. That's a long time in a battle royale game. That's going to give you such a huge opportunity to kill somebody. Just keep in mind, people will just hide behind their car, so have a look for their feet under the car, like I mentioned in the earlier part of the video. And try not to use EMP grenades too recklessly if there's a lot of people around, because you can get pinched really easily whenever people are forced to jump out of their car. If you feel like there's too many people there and you don't have a car of your own, and you throw an EMP grenade down, it can honestly be your downfall, so be sure to use them carefully, and use them as sparingly as possible just to kind of stop people from running away mid-gunfight. So airstrike grenades, I haven't really used them yet, but there's a glitch at the moment where if you don't have an open slot for the grenade, it'll disappear. It's kind of like the glitch with the gun duplicating. It's a similar glitch with the airstrike grenades. So if you're going to pick one up, make sure you've got an open slot in your grenade inventory. But pretty much you throw it down, within maybe 5 seconds, you get a triple strafing run with an airstrike. I've seen these do absolute insane damage to cars. I'm going to be showing you guys a clip from Rocky on Twitch, which I'll put a link to his Twitch on screen. Thank you for this clip. But as you can see, it basically completely eliminated a car. This guy got a multi-kill with the grenade in the last circle. It can be very, very deadly against cars. I don't think it is the best throwable in the game, but it definitely is pretty cool for taking people out behind cover and just destroying a lot of cars in the final safe zone. A few tips and tricks with grenades. Try not to waste them all. I mean, you know, use them as a last-ditch effort if you're kind of in a bit of a tough spot. You know, if you're weak and somebody's pushing you, Molotov them, flash grenade them. If you're fighting from cover to cover, you know, throw that grenade down and try and give yourself a little bit of time. These are really like the most valuable things. Grenades are so valuable. They can buy you time, they can kill people, they can, you know, get people out of cover. They can really just speed up the process of killing somebody and, you know, getting from A to B in the game. So, like I said, the smoke grenades are very, very useful for making tactical and strategic pushes as a team, or as a solo player trying to make it to the safe zone. So 100% guys, try to prioritize them for the end of the match, but feel free to go on ahead and use them because they do spawn inside airdrops quite a lot, and it is pretty easy to replenish your throwables. Don't use the grenade arc, it takes forever. Just try to learn how to throw grenades naturally by just tapping R1, and honestly, that's the best way to use them. I see people using the grenade arc and it's kind of cringy because the grenade arc doesn't really work very well anyway, so you want to just try to learn how to throw them naturally, and that'll give you the best success rate with them. Okay, so finally for today's video, we're going to talk about winning. In the previous H1Z1 Ultimate Guide video, I covered a few different things, which I didn't cover in today's video, but I was trying not to cover too much ground the same, so if you guys do want different tips and tricks, I've left timestamps in that video too, so if you want to know about different things, like more basic stuff, go and check out that video as well. I did talk about, you know, some of the same stuff, but there is a few different things here and there from those videos. I also uploaded a 13 pro tips and tricks video. I was going to do pro tips in this, but I've already made a specific video for pro tips. So if you guys do want to see that, I'll leave a link at the end of this video for that one and in the description. But my top tips for winning a match in H1Z1 is you gotta play smart, you gotta work the safe zone to your favor. First thing you need to prioritize is keeping yourself with a good car towards the end of the match. Sometimes safe zones go down to this tiny little circle and it's a lot of people just driving about, and oftentimes, as sad as it may be, CAR1Z1, whoever's got the best car wins. So you try to keep yourself with a good car throughout the match, try not to be on foot at the end of the match, and that's going to be your #1 tip pretty much for winning. Giving yourself cover and mobility is going to help a lot. Whenever it's coming into the final couple of safe zones, whether you're trying to win, or if you're like me, you're playing aggressively for high kill wins, you want to either stick to the edge of the safe zone and try and make your way in sort of progressively as the safe zone comes in. Being stuck in the middle of the safe zone where everybody can shoot you from any side, it's pretty much a big no-no. You want to be trying to pinch people instead of getting pinched, or if you're like me, you're just going to cold rush people with a shotgun. Being the aggressor honestly can help a lot. If you get people running away from you and afraid of you, and if they see you in the kill feed tearing people up, especially if you've got something like an LMG, people are like, oh, it's the LMG guy, I'm going to try and stay away from this dude. So trying to kind of strike some fear into people honestly can be a big psychological advantage. I talk about this always whenever you're trying to win. If you get nervous at the end of the match, if your palms are sweating, honestly just try to remain calm. That's probably your biggest tip. I think anybody's capable of winning a game. I think you just gotta stay calm and stay collected. My best tips for staying calm is take deep breaths. Whenever you're about to go into a gunfight, literally just take a breath as soon as you take a gunfight. Just take a deep breath and hold it for a couple of seconds while you're in the gunfight. Try to control your breathing, be conscious of your breathing, and stay focused. Don't be thinking about losing, don't be thinking about, oh, I can't lose this, I don't want to lose. Try to focus on winning and try to focus on, you know, like I said, eliminating all our players. As I mentioned in the video earlier, throwables are extremely important, guys. Make sure you're carrying as many throwables towards the end as possible. So let's say if you're struggling to get your first win, you want to be looting up for grenades as much as possible, whether it be smoke grenades, molotovs, frag grenades, AMPs, whatever you can get your hands on, and keep them all to the end. Because let's say like if you're waiting on the edge of the safe zone and you see that the last two people are fighting, you want to basically drive over or run over to them and start throwing grenades at them. Throwing grenades at the last couple of people is the easiest way to get kills, and it takes a lot of pressure off. I know in my 25 kill win, as soon as I got down to the last guy, I just started throwing everything I had at him because I was a little bit nervous and I didn't want to lose. Saving those to the end will help a lot. Having a good loadout and good gear at the end of the match will help you win as well. If you are, like I said, just prioritizing trying to win more than anything, try to keep your armor and helmet in the best possible condition, and that's going to help you a lot. Also, if you can get yourself an LMG, that's going to be a huge advantage as well. It's probably the best gun in the game. So trying to get one of those gold airdrops, fight it out at the gold airdrop, and get one of those, that's going to help a huge amount as well. Like I said, dude, just get your smoke grenade, throw it down on the gold airdrop. People can't run you over. So if you're looting that gold airdrop, make sure you're facing out. So as soon as the items pop out, you're looking at them, pick that LMG up and run if you want to. That's going to help a lot, my dude. Like I said, in the final safe zone, you want to be staying around the edges. You don't want to be stuck in the middle, because people will try to pinch you. You know, instead of being the person in the middle, try and be, you know, a person who's on a rock or like a set of trees. Try to have a look at where the safe zone's going into. Prioritize where you would think a power position is in the safe zone. So a power position could be like a set of trees in the safe zone where there's no other cover, a decent rock, a decent ridge, somewhere that's going to give you some kind of cover or head glitch or some kind of an advantage tactically on your opponent. Those are the types of areas you're going to try to prioritize. But as a rule of thumb, if you do have a good car, go on ahead and try and just kind of chill on the edge of the circle and bring that in, and use your car for cover at all times. Don't step away from behind your car unless you've got a grenade thrown at you or something. This is a really annoying thing I want to tell you guys about. You guys might have seen this on the live stream. There was a really tiny final circle, and what somebody done to me was, the gas doesn't really do that much damage to you at the end. So what they done was save their crossbow, and whenever it came down to the last two, they drove into the gas and started crossbowing me from inside the gas. I really hate to be putting this in a tips and tricks video because it annoyed me a lot. But to be honest, that's a pretty good idea. If you can like get into the gas and throw down an airstrike grenade or shoot a crossbow into the final person and blow their car up, they're pretty much stranded in the open. So situationally, honestly, shooting people from inside the gas can actually help you win a match. Super annoying, I agree. It's a bit of a rubbish thing to put into a tips and tricks video, but it actually does work until the H1Z1 fixes the gas circles at the end. That will be working for you. But that's it guys, we've reached almost 1 hour in the video. If you made it this far, please leave a like in the video, share this video with your friends, and leave me a comment down below letting me know if you get any wins or which tips and tricks helped you guys the best. Like I said, if you guys want to see the pro tips video or the first ultimate guide video, it's got timestamps as well, so you can jump to any part of that video that you want to, if there is things that I missed out on in this video. And overall guys, I hope you did enjoy. That's the most important thing. I hope you did enjoy, and I hope you did learn something new. Once again guys, thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Be sure to hook me up with that subscribe and put on the post notifications. And until next time guys, this has been King Plays. Thank you very much for watching. Good luck and peace out.
It's okay to say it's Hoodie Allen. What up, Marina? You know how we do. They telling me to take the safe route. This is the detour. Hoodie baby, you ain't seen a kid like this before him. Late night shooting.